Welcome back to the Freelancers Tea Break, the short and sweet podcast that you can enjoy whilst you're making a cuppa. I'm Emma Cossey, a coach for freelancers, and I'm here to chat to you about tips, tricks, and advice for freelancers. This week I've got Viv Guy on, and if you've ever been curious about running your business but not relying on social media, you're going to want to listen to this. So, first of all, Viv is a marketing visibility strategist, but I'm going to let you describe what you do and who you are in your own words, Viv. So I'll hand over to you now. Tell us a bit more about you.
Thank you, Emma. Thanks so much for having me on the show, and hello to everybody who's listening. So I am a visibility marketing strategist. What is that? It's one of those things, isn't it? Like when you give, you use titles, people are like, well, what is that? What I do is I help people, service-based business owners, to grow their audiences. Okay, so that's a big thing, so that they can make more sales. That is it, simple as, by getting more visible and really addressing like how they're marketing their businesses. So that is it. That is it in a nutshell. There's nothing more. I could probably chat for hours, but I'm just going to keep it concise at that.
Fantastic. And I think because a mutual friend of ours connected us, and usually I'm like, I'll go have a look on social media at the person. Obviously, you're not on there so much. So I think it would be great to know a little bit more about maybe your journey with social media and kind of when you decided to stop relying on it and things like that. So I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I've been in business for 20 years now. That's scary. It makes me feel very old. Started my first business way back when at the age of 22, grew that to, turned over more than 7 million in revenue in that business. And then I decided I was going to start a family and that I was going to step away from that business because I was a workaholic and I was a bit bored of it and all of those things. I wanted to do something creative because my degree was in drama, creative. So I wanted to go back and do something more creative because I felt like I'd really lost touch with who it was. So I decided I'd become a photographer, and that catapulted me into this online, digital marketing sphere, because my first business was very much not that at all. It was very much sort of, I'll talk about that in a moment. Social media didn't exist with my first business, I should say as well. That's how long ago it was. So yeah, I was catapulted into this world of sort of online digital marketing and was like, I know nothing about this. Social media wasn't something I used personally, particularly. I hadn't grown up with it. It was kind of just wasn't something I'd done. So I not only had a brand new baby, I got pregnant very quickly with another baby, started a new business, and was suddenly having to try and learn all this, how to market a business online. And everyone said, it's, you've got to be on social media. So I was like, okay, well, that's what I've got to do. I'll be on social media. So I did as I was told, because there's experts out there. I'd always kind of listened to coaches and had coaches and things. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. But I did not love it. I found myself with my phone in my hand an awful lot because everyone was like, you got to show up all the time, share your life, and I had little people at home and I felt my focus and attention weren't on them as much as it should have been. And I was getting myself really anxious doing the comparatives, scroll whole thing, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, did as I was told, kept going, not feeling aligned with it, but grew a successful photography business in the end. Started off with no niche whatsoever, so didn't start successfully. Eventually niched into personal brand photography and then evolved into coaching, which is a story for another day. And again, I was on social media, but I remember as I was launching my coaching business, I decided to invest a lot in an awesome coach. So I spent £11,000 on a great coach. And I remember saying, and he wasn't on social media. He'd left social media, I think, the previous year. And I remember saying, I don't really want to be on social media, but I did. I started a Facebook group because everyone tells you start a Facebook group. I was sort of doing the hanging out in comment threads and going in and doing the search. What are people searching? Can I add value? Doing all the things everyone said, still posting on Instagram. But I felt sad. I hated Mondays because Monday was my content batching day. And I remember saying to my coach, I really want to look at maybe kind of getting away from social media. But obviously it was a plan. It was not to just turn off where leads are coming from. I sort of started that journey. But what was really interesting is I was attracting clients so many clients who were just like, yeah, I don't want to be on social media. I find it really hard. I want a way to market my business. Like, I'm not making the sales I want because my marketing, I'm really kind of hit and miss with it. I feel burnt out with it. All different things that were going on. And it was really interesting because I had never at that point said in my messaging, market without social media. I always talked about like marketing in a way that feels right for you, but I was really attracting these people. And then there came a point at the end of 2021, actually beginning of October 2021, where I was working with a different coach at that point, and she just said, you know what, just make a decision, because you're kind of using so much energy kind of going, should I be here? I don't want to be here. And I'd really started to pull away from social media at that point, but it was kind of still keeping like, you know, dipping a toe in the water still and keeping like the finger in. I was like, this is not where I want to be. The big thing was, I was like, I only work 20 hours a week. And I looked at it and I was like, this is just not giving me a good return on investment for the amount of time I'm putting into this. That was the big thing. Because I was like, I feel I'm putting all this energy in, it's using all this headspace. I feel miserable on social media because I, you know, do struggle with my mental health at times, and it's not a great place for me to be. So for me, I really was like, there's got to be a better way to market my business that gets me better returns. So that grows my audience faster, that doesn't require me to do all these things that feel icky. They just felt icky to me and disingenuous, the way like the hanging out in the comment threads and all that stuff. It just wasn't my cup of tea at all. It wasn't the cup of tea for a lot of my clients. So I decided at that point, with a week's notice, that I was going to leave social media fully. Like, that was it, which piqued a lot of interest when I declared on social media, hey, I'm off, and lots of well wishes, but a lot of curiosity from people kind of going, oh my God, we're going to be watching you very closely. So I left, and my business just transformed within like 8 weeks. I launched my first group program. I launched a #1 podcast. I had my highest revenue earning month at that point in my business. Yeah. So things changed. And then obviously I was marketing my business in a different way, which we can get onto if you want to sort of me to segue into that bit. So as I said, like, growing the audience on social media had always been a slog, you know, and then everyone was, you know, you learn from business early on, you need an email list. Everyone says, have an email list. But you're like, well, how do I get people to get into my email list? Because social media is not designed for people to navigate away from it to your landing page unless you're paying for ads. They want to keep you there. They want to keep your, you know, users' eyes on the feed. So it's really difficult, and it had been difficult. So my email list at that point was still very small, and I'd really struggled to grow it on social media. So when I came off, it was like, okay, what are the ways I'm really going to like boost this? And so I started connecting with people, because this was the beauty about coming off social media. I was making I felt so alive, making real connections, chatting to people, you know, and like this, where we're face to face. And I know it's digital, it's on Zoom, but it's still like a real person on the end that you feel like you're actually talking to. And I think just by speaking to someone and seeing a face versus like in threads and things, the conversation is different. It's deeper. So I started connecting with more people, and I ran a business boost bundle, I think I called it way back when. So I'd already started kind of doing collaborations at that point. That was just before I left social media, and sort of was like, yeah, there's power in this collaboration malarkey. I should have probably discovered it more while I was still on social media, but I was like, no, I'm going all in on this. So I started connecting and collaborating with people. So I did a lot of bundles in those early days. So kind of collaborating on those, but found they weren't necessarily my ideal clients because of the type of service I sell. So then I got into guest speaking, which I loved, because I'm very much a implement as we go, kind of do it as a masterclass. Yeah. Well, I was always like, I work 20 hours a week. I don't have time to go to a masterclass and then do the work afterwards. So I was always very much like, let's do it as we go for people. So
I'm exactly the same. If I don't implement it as soon as it's done, it's never going to happen. It's going to sit on my to-do list for months.
Yeah. So I do it as we go. Like, you know, I think I used to have a favorite pause face that was like, hit the pause button, and I do silly faces on Zooms and things like that with people. So yes, I started doing those collaborations, and I was getting clients in really quickly. So they were joining my email list, but actually they were only on my email list for a number of days before they became a paying client, which is unheard of. And the reason was that they were on there for 7 days or something was because that was the time it took from someone actually like seeing me in a workshop, signing up to my like email list there and then. It was the lag between them actually being able to find an appointment in my diary to book a call. And that's the reason it was 7 days. Otherwise it would have been like 24 hours or something. So it was a really short time frame. And the reason being, you know, it speeds up. Or you think about the process of someone coming to your email list and then, you know, cold. So someone from social media or a paid ad, they don't know anything about you. So you've got a long time to build like credibility, authority, trust, etc. with them. Whereas when you go in and you have a conversation with somebody and you're invited in to speak in a community or a group that's already got a leader that everybody trusts, well, just by being invited in, trust is automatically imparted to you. But then you get to kind of do your thing, show your expertise. And that builds the authority and that credibility and trust as well alongside. So it speeds up that whole process. And that's why people are going, oh my God, yeah, that's amazing. Like, I want to book a call. That was like one of the things I was like, oh, this is good. I like this. Like, this makes getting clients a lot easier. But then we got onto the whole, we still need the email list. We still need to grow that email list because there's that direct correlation between the number of leads you bring in and the amount of money you make, the number of sales you make. You know, it's simple math. Leads in, you know, direct correlation between that and money out of the business that's made by the business. So I was like, right. So I need to, you know, to make this like sustainable and to have like recurring, like and regular, consistent, like calls in the diary, I've got to have these regular, like leads coming into my email list. So again, it's a simple math equation here, which is, you know, how many sales do you want to be making a month? How many sales calls then do you need? Because obviously we don't close 100% of sales because we need to qualify people and audition them and So how many sales calls does that mean I need? Okay. So let's now do the math on actually how many people do we know are ready to buy from us, as in, or interested, you know, kind of raising their hand saying, I'm interested in sort of potentially buying from you. We know it's between 3 and 10%. So actually for me, that was like, okay, 100 people. I need 100 people every month, okay, to bring in approximately 3 new one-to-one clients a month. So that was the equation. And that was something that was like a fit for my clients because the type of work, the higher ticket sort of offers, So 100 leads is kind of what I've built the business on like now, which is like how to grow your email list by 100 leads every month. So you get that consistent revenue. And that came about then from just going in as a guest expert. But what most people do is they rock up, they do a podcast episode, they go in and do a guest expert spot, and that's it. They move on and do another one in another group. But the step that everyone's missing is there is a relationship to be built there. There is a collaboration opportunity. So if I go in and deliver a masterclass for someone's paid membership or whatever it might be, they still have a wider audience, a wider email list. Okay. And so actually we can say this has been going on in the paid membership, which is already kind of going, oh, look, paid membership. We're kind of promoting that service. Here's a taste of what like you can get. And like, then you can give out your freebie or a free workshop or whatever it might be that you can send out to that wider list, which suddenly if someone's got an email list of 1,000 people, we know the click-through rate is around 3.71%. So you suddenly got 30 new email subscribers to your list from that being shared with that one audience. And you don't have to keep creating content. You know, social media is so exhausting. Demands so much content being created to just have any chance of staying top of people's feeds. So by, you know, instead of creating all this like churn of content, we can create 1 or 2 really, really valuable pieces and share that widely with people and then create something else in next quarter and go back to those people and say, hey, do you want to share? And vice versa. Hey, what have you got going on? Have you got any workshops, any launches, anything you want me to share and promote? Send it over. And that's it. It's got to be that 2-way sort of equal exchange. So that's the bit a lot of people forget to do. And that's where you're really going to get that list growth happening.
I love in particular that you talked there about looping back to people as well in the next quarter, because actually I think I'm very much guilty of that. I work with someone and I'm like, oh, I can't ask them to share anything again. But actually, if you've already given value to their community, then the community will want to hear more.
Yeah. And you know, being straight up in that relationship, I think, especially when we're British, we're very polite and afraid of offending, but actually just saying, you know, at the end of a thing, or sending a follow-up email up saying like, and I do it, it goes out at the end of every time I speak with someone and meet someone in their community. And I say, hey, I am all about like long-term relationships. I'm not a wham bam, thank you, ma'am kind of person. I'm all for, the longer term. Let's really make this valuable. And if you both agree this, and say, can I get in touch in a couple of months or can you let me know what you've got coming up? I'm saying to people now, let me know what you've got coming up, August to December, because I want to put it in my content plan now. Simple as. There's no offense for me. I'm like, if you want me to, I am more than happy to. And if you're happy to reciprocate, great.
So one of the things you touched on a little bit earlier is you talked a bit about how you're getting people onto your mailing list, but also that incredible conversion that you're having. And I wondered if you could talk a bit more about maybe why you think it converts so well, or people converting into paying customers so well.
Yeah. Well, as I said, obviously, when you've been the guest expert in communities and you've shared things, there's that trust is already imparted, which helps. But within my process, I'm all about automating as much as possible. And so often what happens is people try and sell as soon as someone's come into their world and they've introduced them for the first time. Imagine going out for a first date with someone. So you've been on Tinder or wherever you've been on and you've found somebody and you've gone, you don't rock up on that first date and go, let's get married and have babies. People are going to run a freaking mile. Say, hey, do you want to go for a coffee or something really simple? And people are like, yeah, that doesn't feel too much of a big next step. And that's what so often I see happening in business. People are literally like, let's get married on that first thing, which is buy my big thing, right now, let's have a big call. So what I have is when people sign up to my opt-in is they get redirected to a thank you page on my website that says your thing's on its way. It's going to be in your inbox in about 5 minutes. But before you go, there's watch this video, and there's a video that says and then obviously it's got a heading if you want this or that. And it's just a short video that talks about if you're struggling with these things, this is likely happening because which again, authority, credibility, because you know what you're talking about. Oh, okay. So they understand why I'm making, why this is happening, why I'm struggling with these things. Then I'm going to offer you a call, a 15-minute call though. I'm not selling you an hour's call. I'm not selling anything. And you can't buy anything on the 15-minute call. And that's really clear as well. This is and I'm going to give you loads of value. I'm going to give you the 3 key actions that are going to help you move forward in your business. And then if you want to hear more, we can book in a deeper dive call. So it's little steps. It's that's first date to second date to third date, and so on. So that converts really well because it's 15 minutes, not a big time commitment. 2, you kind of go, I'm curious. So a lot of people are curious, what's this going to see? And to get my eyes on your business, because it's you're so close to your own business, you don't see it sometimes. You don't see what you're missing. Yes, you might say, I've got a lead flow problem, but I don't know why, because I'm doing this, and this. So many people come to me and I say, so what are you doing to generate leads, as in people for your, build your audience? And they say, well, I post on social media every day and I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. I say, okay, so talk me through, right? People get a little bit frustrated. I say, right, well, yeah, okay. But what is the lead generation like? What are you actively doing, proactively doing? So I'm posting. I've just told you. I'm like, no, that's for your existing audience. Okay. And only about 3% of those are going to be seeing that content if we're lucky, But what are you doing to get new eyes, new people into your world? Because it's that moment. That's where I say I do visibility, which is you got to stand there and go, hey, everybody, I'm over here. I exist. People do not just swarm to you by chance. And social media is not what it was 10 years ago. And that's the big thing. It's 2023. It's not what it was 10 years ago, where the reach, the engagement, everything's 80, 90%. It's absolutely rubbish. It's less than 0.5% on engagement and things like that. It's shocking. So there's no way that social media is really pushing out your content to new people and it's just appearing in their feeds as if by magic. So saying I'm doing social media as a audience building lead gen strategy is just, and you'll see it in your numbers. Unless your numbers are kind of really going up fast, then you are not really proactively doing lead generation. And that's the thing that I see a lot of people make. So we need to be obviously thinking about how we're doing that and then where are we directing them to after we've done that and what's that process?
And actually, I mentioned this just before this call as well, but one of the things I really liked was I signed up for your Audience Accelerator freebie. And what I liked is that on I think it was the confirmation or the thank you page, you had a short video, which helped with that connection because I felt like I got to know you better. And then step 2 was to book in a 15-minute call with you. And then step 3 was accessing the freebie. And it made me realize actually that I don't see that a lot on freebie pages. On the confirmation page, it's usually just, here's the link to a freebie. But adding in, even if you didn't do the video, even just that 15-minute call thing makes you stop and think, actually, that would be really useful. And you do what I've also got in my onboarding, or my discovery call link as well, which is where you have a bit in there saying, if you're not looking to invest in this, this might not be the right time for you, which is great because that filters out.
Absolutely.
Time. But I just thought it's such a simple tweak. And even if you're going to carry on doing social media and things like that, to have that tweak on your opt-in page would I would imagine, makes a huge amount of difference.
Yeah. The connection piece is so important, because connections lead to conversations and conversations lead to conversions, simple 3 C's that we need to take people through. And obviously coming off social media, because I say to people, I'm not a poo on social media kind of person. It's an amazing thing. But the reality is it's not what it was 10 years ago. And we have to face that. And if we're trying to grow our businesses and market in a way that many other people out there in sort of the coaching, mentoring, online digital world grew their businesses, they were there at the start of social media coming out, and they grew audiences very quickly, and they're still teaching people this is a great way to grow your audience, but actually it's not an effective way now. But I say to people, you don't have to leave social media. I was extreme because I was this doesn't work for me as a person. It's not great for my mental health. But actually, what about if you I always say it's like flipping a pancake. So flip it all on its head, turn it around. So right now, if you visualize a funnel, right now at the top, you're kind of going, I'm on social media and I'm trying to grow my audience either on social media or my email list, whichever or both, by being on social media. And then I get people, try and get them into my email list. And then I try and nurture them and connect with them on social media. So I say to people, right, let's just think about taking the social media bit away at the top of that funnel. How can we get people, how can we get in front of people and connect with people off social media? Bring them into your email list, because we know that you've got a way higher open rate, 8% delivery rate, 30 to 40% open rates, depending where you're at in your business. And then the click-through rate's much higher. So we know we want to have them in there. But, everyone says, the money's in your list, it's your pot of gold. It is your asset. You own it. But then once you've got them in there, if you love being on social media, if you're I'm always on Instagram stories, you can say to people, come hang out with me there, and you can still connect. But again, we know that only about 3% of your audience is seeing that consistently. So you still got email is covering your back there. It's got you covered. And people can go, when they're really connected with you, you could even use your email to say, oh, watch this video I did in Reels, or watch this reel I did today, or whatever it might be. So you can send them to your Instagram or your TikTok or wherever you want to send them to, so they can check that out. Or you can remind them, or there are so many ways you can still use social media if you want to connect, but you are not having to create the volume of content that you are right now when you're trying to market and grow your leads, because it's not working. So just stop, stop. Just, it needs to stop. If it's exhausting, it's time consuming, and it's ineffective. So we've got to find a different way. And as I said, just then use your social media to connect with people. And for me, because I'm not on social media, that's where this connection part is really important for me. As soon as someone clicks my opt-in, because there isn't that, come see me on social media, join my Facebook group or anything like that. So I have to find as many opportunities as I can to show up.
Like the poster child for work smarter, not harder. I love this. Yeah. And I suppose some people will be like, oh, but you're going to end up doing all these calls that will take them out a lot of time, but you've just freed up so much time by not doing social media.
Yeah. And the 15-minute game plan calls, you think about how many service-based businesses do their calls. They try and get people straight on a 60-minute discovery call, sales call, whatever you want to call them, a strategy calls. And that was the big thing. That is time consuming to have people that aren't qualified, that are not in a position to buy necessarily, and are not a good fit energetically. So actually, by having a 15-minute call, it's really great to connect with people. B, they get some value of some kind out of that with their 3 actions. And B, it's an audition, This is it. We're so often service providers, we forget that we feel like we're being auditioned, but we should be really confident to audition. Like, are these people, am I energetically connected if I'm working like in a coaching capacity? Because gosh, that's a long time to not be connected with someone and not to kind of have that vibe. Are they going to get the results? Do I think, because that's my reputation. If I don't think this person's going to do the work, then, you know, as much as we might be connected and vibing, if I don't feel confident they're going to do the work, they're not going to get the results. And that looks not great on me. And I'm an overgiver and I love people to succeed. You know, it's my God complex that I always get told by my coaches to stop having, but it's, you know, I care and I want people to get results. So actually, you know, for me, I really need to screen to make sure people are going to get results. So yeah, it is important.
I want to go and sort out my pages now. Thank you pages and everything and put all these in place. So that's super interesting. So usually what I ask at the end is, where can we find you online? And obviously the usual social media ones are out of not the things that we're looking for, but where can we find you?
Okay, so you can check me out on my website if you want to dig into more about who I am and what I do, vivguy.com, nice and easy, vivguy.com. If you're happy, Emma, I'll share my link to my freebie, which is how to grow your email list by 100 new leads every single month without paid ads or organic social media. So I can send you the link for that. Yeah, and as I say, I do have my social profiles still there because I decided not to delete them. So they're like digital business cards. So you can go and see me and it says I'm not here, but you can connect with me. And I love a good old voice note. So if you've got any questions, you want to just connect with me, say hi, tell me where you heard me, come and connect with me on Facebook Messenger because, as I say, I love a good old voice note. You'll often find me pottering in the greenhouse, voice noting and things like that, or walking. Especially now you don't have to hold the button down anymore to do a voice message, which is awesome. So yes, come say hi. So there's a few different ways there you can connect with me.
Love a voice note too. I'm terrible for doing it to my team and things and sending them voice note. Thankfully, we discovered in Slack that it transcribes it.
I love the transcribe.
So much easier.
I know, I'm like that. I love Slack for the transcribe option.
Well, thank you so much. I am feeling super motivated by this and I think lots of other people will too. If you enjoyed this, do go jump on Viv's list because that's obviously where the magic is happening and I think it's going to inspire a lot of people. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Freelancers Tea Break. I hope you found it useful. If you want to connect with other freelancers, do come join us in the Facebook group, The Freelance Lifestylers. It's completely free and really lovely and supportive. You can also find out more information on freelancing at freelancelifestyle.co.uk. And as always, I'd really appreciate it if you were able to take a moment to leave a review on the podcast platform of your choice.